Good evening and welcome to Family Time. Good evening to everyone joining us via whether Facebook Live or if it's YouTube. Thank you very much for making it Family Time here on Love 101, the family station. So, as you may recall, family time is about your issues and your relationships, your at home family, your community family, and your global family. Family time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. So, stay with us, and yes, please connect with us via all our platforms. Friend us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA, and on Instagram, keep up with what's happening at family or by simply using FLMJA. All right. While we're a family oriented program, Family Time may, on the odd occasion, touch on some topics that persons may consider to be of a mature nature. So please use your discretion. All right. Jamaica turns 62 in a few hours. Is Jamaica too old to be vibrant and energetic and able to do what, let's say, younger countries can do? How about our 60 and over residents? How are their hearts? They say the heart wants what if the heart wants. And just because we're over 60, 70, or let's go a little further and say even over 80, our hearts don't lose their capacity for intimate love. But is it a good idea? What does one look for at that age, and how do you go about doing the looking? As a matter of fact, might I ask you, where does one do the looking? And come in a little closer. What about the, you know, sex? Yes. What about the sex? Oh, yes. The what, the who, the why, the where, the when, and how. That's what we're going to be looking at today. Our topic, love and marriage in the senior years. But first, help us navigate this topic by letting us know what you think about those 60 and over getting married. I won't judge you. Just tell me what you think. You think they should just pack it all in? Let us know. Send it via WhatsApp, text, and voice notes. Please make sure voice notes are restricted to 30 seconds or less. And the number for that is 876 997 3125. You may call the studio lines at 876 968 8327 or 8328 to participate. And while you watch us live, go ahead and comment on the platform you are using. We'll be right back with our special guest, Sonia Winter. Don't go anywhere.
Get ready for another inspiring time inside Love in the Morning with me, your host, Jakal Dyer, this Independence Day, Tuesday, August 6th. Grab your cup of coffee and start the day right with the Morning Coffee Pick Me Up devotional. Then we continue the celebration and festivities with great music, conversations, and laughter. Plus, we learn the history of Independence Day. So stick and stay with us. This Island Vibes Tuesday inside Love in the Morning, 5 to 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to Family Time here on Love 101 FM, the family station. Thanks to all those joining in as they drive or are stuck in traffic. And for those who've made it home, got your favorite drink or tea, and you're listening or watching. All right. So, our guest today is Sonia Winter. And as we welcome her, let me remind you of the question. We want to know what you think about those 60 and over seeking love and getting married. Send your WhatsApp voice notes and texts to 876-997-3125. As you watch us live, go ahead and comment or post. And if you want to call the studio lines, numbers are 876-968-8327 or 8328. Greetings, Sonia. How are you doing?
Greetings. I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Nice to have you here. Let me just clarify. I've had you on as a guest before, but I don't remember if it was Sonia or if it was Sonia. Let me know which one it is.
Oh, I answer to both because half my friends it's Sonia and half it's Sonia. So I don't even remember anymore to tell you the truth. So whichever rolls off your tongue is fine.
All right, all right. Good. That sounds good to me. I can't get it wrong. All right. So, yes, we're looking at a quite an interesting topic because I figure as the population ages, their desire for love will go with their years. And what is love over 60? Because I think people more kind of like a young people thing. What are you looking for? If your spouse has died or if you've divorced, just go and serve in your church and give yourself to God. What more are you looking for out of life?
Yeah. Well, I think for many people who are over 60 and are interested in a relationship, what they really want is companionship. In your 60s you could have 40 more years. Who knows, if that's the course chosen for you. And some people want to continue to share those life experiences with someone else, versus being alone. Whether it's going to church or whatever it is they're doing, they sometimes want a companion to continue to share life experiences with them. And so that would be the number one reason that I would say, those who are looking, not all people over 60 are necessarily looking, but those who are looking are quite often interested in companionship.
All right. So I guess somebody's out there thinking and they're saying, well, if you're looking for companionship, isn't that more like a friend that you should be looking for?
Mhm. Yes, and friendship is a huge part of any successful relationship. Um, but there is more to friendship, more to a relationship than just friendship, more to companionship than just friendship. It might be sharing life dreams, it might be planning together, it might be living together, it might be getting married, it might be having this person a more permanent part of your life as well. In terms of that companionship, we're now sharing a future as well, so we're planning together, planning a way that our lives can kind of overlap,
Mhm.
um, and seeing a future which is has both our dreams built into it.
Ah, so how it's a few questions. So the where, the why, the how, all that is coming out. But I'm wondering how difficult is it just to wrap my mind around it? Is it more difficult, you'd think, to find love in your senior years than it would be when you're younger?
From a statistical point of view, yes. Because when you're younger, there are more people free and single who are also looking, right?
Correct.
There are more people in that stage of life who are looking. As you get older, the number of candidates, let's say, from a statistical point of view, is reducing. And from that point of view, that's a very clinical approach, eh? Um, you would your the likelihood is going to be lower than in your earlier years. Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if you've seen any studies or anything that would give us some more data to help us out, but is it that those who are older and seeking love, is it more first time marriages or is it more persons who have been down the road before, perhaps the spouse has died or they're divorced and they're kind of in that phase so they still want to go at it again? How many new faces are there coming into the love game?
Okay, no, those are statistics that would be certainly interesting to explore, because it's hard. It's harder. That's true, to meet a companion who is kind of looking for the same things you are. You know what I mean? At once you're older, it's a little bit harder than if you're younger. And so to have that information about how many people are kind of in the market, if I can use a rough word, would be a very interesting one for sure. But it is true that a lot of people that choose to go into the market, choose to pursue relationships in part based on their history of relationships, so there's a higher probability that someone who might have had a fulfilling relationship um, might be more open to pursuing another relationship at that stage in their life. But people who may have had more difficult relationships, may have even ended relationships because through divorce um, or separation, sometimes those individuals can be a little bit jaded, a little bit um, traumatized even from the relationship, and their 60s and 70s might be the years where they're saying, I'm just going to do me, um, because my history of relationships hasn't been as rewarding as I've wanted it to be.
Okay, okay. And is there anything out there to suggest how open Christian seniors are to finding love again?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not sure there's a distinction in the statistics re saved and unsaved, if that's out there. But if it is, can you let us know?
Mm-hmm. I'm again. I don't think that's it. The information about older couples, Sir Twain, really comes from um, the only place that they've really been able to collect data, to be honest with you, is from people who actually use dating sites. So they can
Ah,
give you an idea of how many people come onto the site. Those, who are looking for a relationship. You know what I mean? In Jamaica, we don't use dating sites as much as say in other developed countries. So our data, therefore, of who is looking for a relationship would be a little bit less. Um, However, I did come across information that suggests that didn't divide it in terms of faith or denomination or anything like that, but more just in terms of age and how many of those people had joined dating sites who were interested in in another relationship. And it was saying that by and large, roughly, it's a low number, but they found that about 3% of people on dating sites are over 60. So
okay.
that kind of gives you an idea of how much older people use dating sites in order to look for relationships, at least in, as I said, in developed countries.
Okay, cool. So we can see the 3%. Let's just imagine that can go across different geographical locations. three
Yes.
percent of persons are using these sites. So what what means would the others be using?
Yeah. Well, I from what I understand, you have a greater probability of meeting somebody with your interest if you continue to pursue the things that interest you. So for people who go to church, for example, of course, your church, depending on how large your congregation is, where you're located, that would be, one of the places where you could find somebody whose interests kind of and point of view, outlook, and philosophy might align with yours. For instance, there
Sonny,
are
I'm gonna have to cut you, but keep that thought. We're right up on a break, so you'll come back and elaborate some more on that first. Remember, everybody, you're listening to and watching Family Time on Love 101. Be back with us after this break.
The Minister of Finance and the Public Service, in collaboration with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, is pleased to announce that all nominations are now open for the 2024 Public Bodies Corporate Governance Awards, which will be held on December 4, 2024. Let excellence reign and be recognized for your high standards of corporate governance practices across a variety of categories. Submit your nomination by 4 p.m. on Friday, September 6th. Submission is free. Visit mof.gov.jm for more information.
Have you follow Grace Sardine? Follow the better flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody sell it. Do all of them nice. Pass the back, make push it.
Grace Sardines, follow the better flavor.
Winnings are on floor. Winnings are on floor. 75 in in smart TV paired with sound bars that they get every week. Samsung Galaxy smartphone a dway. S24, S24 dway. Plus 3 grand prize when I get money for splash. $1 million each in a big money cash.
Get trivia prices of data and credit. Switch to Flow or activate any unlimited prepaid plan. Or pay a yard and road bill on time and in full for chances to win. Conditions apply.
So you think all toilet paper is the same?
Yeah, basically, tissue is tissue.
You obviously never experienced the domino effect then.
No, what that?
Feel this.
Wow, that is soft.
Not just soft. Domino toilet paper is also super strong and ultra absorbent. Basically, you're getting comfort where you need it most.
So yeah, you want to give me this one, right?
Domino toilet paper. Experience the domino effect and get softness all around you. Available at retail stores near you.
And you are back with us. Thank you very much for rejoining. Here we are with our guest, Sonia Winter, and we're talking about love and marriage in the senior year. So it's big people conversation, this in every sense of the term. All right. So you were saying, Sonia, that people find people where their interests are in their spaces, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Can continue.
Yeah, and so any other kind of interests that you have, and to the extent that it has a social component to it, where you're meeting with other people, that's often where you can hope to find like someone of like mind, if it were. So maybe church might be one place. Maybe people who are in service groups, for example, that might be something else. If you play a sport or if you go to the gym, things like that. A lot of times too, it's in the workplace, because you work with people. That's where you spend most of your time. That's where you get to know people. Sometimes that's where relationships do start, in the workplace. So wherever, I know there's a verse that says wherever two or more are gathered, wonderful things can happen. So I guess we could apply it here as well.
Okay, so it's nothing really out of the ordinary from how younger people find love. You're interested in different stuff, and you have to come across someone. Okay, so we're demystifying love in the senior years.
Yes.
Would you say, because I'm wondering, sometimes we can, in the Christian circles, it may seem as though when you get to a certain age, your maturity shows by being able to refrain from this having to get into a relationship. You are older now, your husband died, your wife died. You really just need to go and, give yourself to the Lord, be more involved in working in church because, it has freed you up to do that. Is it a sense that the more mature persons avoid looking for love again and the less mature ones are like, I can't do without any other partner? Or is that just a myth or a bad idea to think that way?
I don't think that it falls into those categories. If you would, Sir Twain, it's older versus younger necessarily. You know what I mean? As I said, I think it depends on the individual and what they are looking for, number one. Number two, oftentimes what their history of relationships has been is a huge indicator or a predictor of whether they're going to be looking for relationships. So as I said, if you've had a successful relationship that has given you some fulfillment and it has ended, no matter what your age is, you may be motivated to look for another relationship. Also, you could imagine also people who grew up in families and modeled for them were healthy relationships. That might be a predictor as well as to whether they would be always interested in companionship and in that kind of relationship.
Okay. All right. So it's not about if you're really, really saved or not. You can find love, look for love, and nobody should say, because I've heard that, like, so I wish she look for again. She not done, I don't know why I look for in our world again. So I've heard those. So let's just put it out there. Let's not be thinking along those lines. We're talking to our guest, Sonia Winter, and we want you to remember the question that we put out there. What do you think about those who are 60 and over and looking for love and still getting married? Go ahead and send those responses via WhatsApp, text, or voice notes to 876-997-3125. Keep your voice notes to 30 seconds or less. And as you watch us, you may comment and post. And if you're so minded, the studio lines are open 876-968-8327. All right. So, oh, by the way, just in case you miss it down the end, which we hope you don't, the Family Life head office in Kingston, the numbers are 920-876. By the way, 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. So we see where the experiences that persons have is a great predictor as to whether they will pursue or refrain from pursuing love in their senior years. And we know that they look for persons generally where they have interest, or if some are minded to go ahead and look online, they may do that as well. What are some of the challenges that seniors may encounter apart from not having as many persons to choose from? Are there any other like top challenges that they encounter?
Oh, for sure, Sir Twain. I think the major one would be health issues, right?
Oh.
So, as you get older, of course, the likelihood that you're going to encounter health issues is going to increase. So, getting into a relationship and then health challenges might come upon you, as it were,
Mhm.
and that will always create a stress to the relationship. So, managing chronic conditions and then having to consider caregiving responsibilities, that can be a huge stressor on relationships, and the likelihood of that happening is much higher the older you get. So 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds, that's never in the front of their mind. But for older people, we're starting to think about that. And then,
Okay.
yeah.
So
And
those
then,
deal breakers could be, well, you have X disease. I really can't take that on. I really can't take that on.
well, for some it's a deal breaker, for some it's something to consider, when they're who knows, it some for some people it might be worth it to them, others might say no, this is not for me. But as I said, it's a potential disadvantage. Sometimes, you never know when or what can happen, but as I said, it's really about probabilities. It's a potential as you get older that this is something you'll have to confront, whether you're in a relationship or on your own. It's just, you know what I mean. That's something that's important to be aware of. Sometimes too, financial concerns can be something that can be an impediment or some hurdle to get over, because financial plan is going to be often more complex for older people, especially if they already have their separate financial lives. They have their separate assets and their separate indebtedness as well. They have retirement funds, they have responsibilities, they have children from previous relationships. So they'll have
Mortgage is
financial.
already written. I know.
Absolutely. They'll have financial obligations, you know what I mean? And, their income might be different now or is about to change. And so that's something to navigate, for couples who are older, and is something that's they have to bear in mind, you know. Then the big one, the huge one, if we have enough time, is blending families.
Mm.
There was a study that showed that one of the biggest challenges that a couple can go through is actually the challenge of having to blend their families. And that's much more likely for older couples as well, where you have to integrate families from previous relationships. Sometimes the children are adult from previous relationships are adults or teenagers. Sometimes it's grandchildren, and they will have a strong opinion. They will need time. They have relationships with each of the parties, and that's something else to navigate as well. Getting along, we all want to get along, but it's more complicated with more people involved and with people with different histories.
And so it's not that, because in my mind, I figure the difficulty with that is a possibility. But I'm wondering as well, since children should really be out of the house and adult and doing their own thing, how difficult it would be for them to manage the whole newness of the relationship with their with their parents.
Yeah, and as I said, it depends on the family. You know, I'll share this. I'll be very share a little personal. I mean, my father remarried. My mother died when I was quite young, but my father remarried when I was in my 20s, and I was relieved because at least, he would have somebody who could take up his time. He would, I could get on with my life, kind of. You know what I mean? So I was relieved that he had found somebody. He wouldn't have much time to be bothering with me, and off I could go and be as independent as I wanted to. But that's a particular dynamic which some people may have, others might not. But also, it's about suddenly now you have a board of directors who is vetting your partner as well. Put it that way. Think of it.
Ah,
You know what I mean? You have a board of directors who has an opinion about whether this person is, of sound character, or whether this person is trustworthy, or whether, this person deserves you. And they have opinions, and whether those opinions are helpful or hurtful is now something that is a reality that the couple has to face.
yeah, that is something, because when they're smaller, you kind of get away with stuff. It's like, this is adult stuff, you'll understand. But when they're bigger, it's like, Daddy, I've been around and get you stuff.
The truth is, when they're smaller, it's just as difficult.
It is.
That it absolutely, it's like I said, it's one of the most difficult challenges a couple can go through, right? Because there is a person who has responsibility for the smaller kids, but they're not their biological parent, and so that creates a stressor. The things that a biological parent can navigate is harder for a step parent to navigate, much harder. Whereas my biological mother might reprimand me, punish me, and she can get away with it. Suddenly, if my stepfather is doing it, that relationship is just going to come under a lot of pressure, and then he puts pressure on the biological parent. It's just a lot of moving parts, is what I would say.
Wow. As we near the halfway stage, because we're gonna go to break, but as we near the halfway stage, I'm realizing, when people may think, I'm like, what are you really doing at this age? You really shouldn't. It's a lot of stuff to consider. So they probably are trying to say, don't deal with the stress. But then when others would think like, it shouldn't be that hard. You're both old. What could you really be looking for? There's a lot of stuff to go through, and the challenges are just as many as for those who are younger. So people,
absolutely,
take it easy with them. Don't think that they're any less stressed for these relationships and they don't know what they're thinking about. So we're talking again to Sonia Winter about love and marriage in the senior years. And if you heard the first half, you recognize that you don't want to miss the second half. So we're going to throw to a break. And please remember to send in your responses. Tell us what you think about persons getting into relationships and getting married in their senior years, getting it over 60. What do you think about it? Share via text or voice notes on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125. The studio lines are open, 876-968-8327 or 8328. And as you watch us live, go ahead and post, go ahead and send in your messages. We'll be back right after this break.
Joshua 14 verse 12 declares, "Now therefore, give me this mountain of which the Lord spoke. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said." Today's scripture is a snippet from a story about a military gentleman who at 35 years old was denied the right to achieve what he had set out to achieve because the military operation was terminated. About 40 years later, when he was in his 80s, he got the chance once again. He reminded his commanding officer that even though he was pushing 80, he was old but not cold. His military exercise was successful. There's an old adage that says age is just a number. Despite the fact that there are physical health problems common with aging, it rarely seems to be true. Many well-known persons did not achieve success in life until old age. For example, Colonel Sanders of KFC Ray Kroc of McDonald's, Stan Lee of the Marvel comic books and movies. In fact, the Bible has a famous story of a couple aged 99 and 100 years old who had a son. So it would seem that even love and intimacy can continue to be a success in old age. So falling in love and getting married can still happen if you are over 60. Research at Harvard has shown that you can help prevent physical decline and stay fresh for love and marriage by staying physically active, getting enough sleep, not smoking, having good social connections, limiting alcohol intake, and eating a healthy diet. I'm Reverend Mike from Fellowship Tabernacle, and we just had a WTF moment.
Ready, set, go! Race down to Singer to get golden deals on appliances, electronics, and furniture. Be a part of the action with LG 4K Ultra High Definition televisions. Get a free microwave with the purchase of an electric stove. Stay cool with inverter ACs now at the lowest prices this summer. Get freezers starting as low as $39,995. Only Singer has 120 days for cash and 9 months no interest. Shop today for unbeatable credit. Conditions apply.
Me, busy as usual, so I don't have no time for whole heap of paperwork. That's why I downloaded and signed up for my One JN Passport app. It's a whole new level of convenience and access to services within the JN Financial Group. Just a few taps on my smartphone and maps. I can update my personal information, open a JN Bank savings account, and even apply for an unsecured loan. Get it all in one go. Download and sign up now. The One JN Passport app. JN will help you find a way.
Love 101 invites you to set your day before it begins with midnight prayer and praise, Mondays at midnight. It's the third prayer watch, a period of much spiritual activity. You will be strengthened during this time of prayer and praise. Midnight prayer and praise is during the third watch of the night, the time to strengthen yourself spiritually and seek direction. Time to command your day. Midnight prayer and praise, Mondays at midnight through to 3 a.m. early Tuesday morning. 3 hours to set your day with prayers offered in each hour. Midnight prayer and praise is on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to Family Time here on Love 101. It's now 4 minutes past the hour of 6. And as you know, Family Time provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Our discussion this evening is love and marriage in the senior years, and our guest, who occasionally provides therapy at Family Life Ministries, is Sonia Winter. Let me remind you, Sonia Winter is an associate clinical psychologist and Tea House Therapy founder. As a psychologist, she has one goal in mind: to help individuals, couples, and families improve their ability to relate to themselves and each other to create healthy and satisfying relationships. She is the only Gottman Level 3 trained clinical psychologist in the Caribbean. And if you've been listening from the beginning, you can say we have not even touched the surface of what she's doing, given her experience and the great information that we have received thus far. All right. So, Sister Sonia, we're back in, jumping into it again. We were looking at some of the challenges just now, and we spoke about, the financial concern that there may be, because I'm assuming that, some of the precautions that you may take when you're older, when you've already made everything and you're like, there's no making out of this back, may be a bit different from the precautions we take when we're just starting out. Is that a fair assessment?
That's fair for sure. Where the two of us are kind of building, our financial life together. When we're younger, you know what I mean? You have more of an outlook as of we're a team creating this our financial future, but with older people, I done doing my financial thing. you know the die is cast in terms of whether I am financially secure and stable or not. That die is cast, and sometimes that's something to navigate when you're getting into a relationship.
Okay. So we spoke about how involved and hands-on the children of the couples, of the to-be couple, can get. In your case, you were just happy to have it, like, freedom, we're here. Others may be looking like, this could affect my future. This could be
Absolutely.
something I need to nip before it goes any further. What
Yeah.
is some
My dad had, I was my dad, the apple of my father's eye, and I could call him Becca. He was at my beck and call, if I needed babysitting or whatever, call and he'd be there. And now all of a sudden he's distracted with somebody else. No, 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 no. I'm not happy about that at all.
Yeah. So, what advice could you give to adult children? I guess the younger ones as well, in their teens or so. But what advice could you give to adult children who want to look out for their mother or father's best interest? How do they go about it without crushing their their parents' spirit, or being a damper, or even jeopardizing their own relationship because of how strong they may be coming across?
Yeah. Well, you know what I always say, when it comes to family, you really just have one important role, and that's really to support their well-being as best as you can. So I often say, when it comes to family, my family don't have to share my opinions about certain things, but I think they should expect that regardless, I will be there to be supportive. That's what family is about. And I think this is another case where that might be true, whereby if you have a parent who has met somebody and you have concerns, you may express those concerns, but I would caution you to not blackmail the parent, from the point of view of saying, unless you take my advice, then if you don't take my advice, that's going to jeopardize our relationship in some way. That's what I would kind of caution adult children to stay away from. Express your concerns if they're really bothering you or weighing on you. But more importantly, make sure that if your parent is going to suffer heartbreak or something is going to go wrong, that you make it clear to them that you are there for them in any eventuality, whether they take your advice or not. They have your support, that you'll come to their rescue. All they have to do is call. I think that's the most important message, more so than take my advice or else.
But call me if not, call me.
Exactly. No matter no, that's not going to be helpful. It's going to leave your parent feeling isolated and alienated from you, and probably hasten the relationship that you're so concerned about. You know, without proper prudence on the part of your parent. You know what I mean? Because it's only the partner that they have left now. So I think it's very important to make sure that you make it clear that come what may, you're always my parent. I'm always here to support you, and I'll be here for you, whether this relationship flourishes or not.
Okay. And what would be the responsibility um, of the adult child when it comes to allowing for blending to happen? Is there any guide that they can use to say, okay, then I need to do this? Because let's say somebody, they really want to come off as being supportive, and they just keep coming to the house a bit too often, or they're like, I'm trying to give them space, so they stay away way too much. How do they manage being able to go in there and I don't know, some of them may try even to call the person mommy or daddy, and that may just come off a bit wrong. What are some of the do's and don'ts to help them with the blending?
Sure. And so, Twain, you're asking me advice to the adult children when their parents are getting married, or to the
Right.
parents when they are
Adult
getting
children.
to adult children in terms of blending their family with with their parents' partners' family. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
To help
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the, you're being supportive to come across
yeah,
that way.
yeah. Boy, that's a tough one because so much depends on the individuals involved. A relationship. Some relationships are spontaneous. Personalities just happen to align, and some relationships can be acrimonious and difficult because of personalities. Um, so it's kind of hard to have a kind of one size fits all rule to apply to all of those situations.
So it
Um,
would be helpful to basically just feed off the energy that the couple is giving to see how best to respond to the needs or the stuff that
I
they have.
I think so. I mean, I think it's true. I think knowing that this is going to be a challenge is important,
Mm.
so that maybe you could switch on your patience meter, let's say, as it were. You know what I mean? Um, that's one thing. But then I think the truth is all the rules that apply to any relationship would apply here as well, to try to be empathetic with the other person, try to handle conflict well by trying to see things from their point of view, trying to employ grace, once you can understand the other person's point of view, trying to be patient, trying to actively listen, because there could be there are likely to be a lot of misunderstandings because they're different. It's almost like you're intertwining or integrating two different family cultures. So that's not going to be smooth. There are going to be family rituals and practices and experiences that one family has that the other does not, things that are symbolic and important to one side of the family that might not be the same to the others. And when I say symbolic, for example, rituals like Sunday dinner, one family that might be a ritual, and for the others, no, we all grab our plate and sit in front of the TV, and that's different. Symbols in terms of what home means. For one family, the home might be a place of, the community can all come. It's Grand Central Station. Everybody can pass through
Everybody,
our home. Yeah, and look in your pot and help themselves. And 5 people have your front door key. That might be true of how the home is seen in one family, but in the other family, no, 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 no. The home is the place where we escape from the world. It's our private respite. It's our cave where we go
come
away.
only when invited.
Exactly, and we're not inviting very often either, right? Okay, so integrating those two worlds will require a lot of empathy, a lot of listening without judgment, if you're going to navigate those differences. But as I said, it's the rules that are plentiful, but that would apply to establishing any new relationship.
Okay, okay, okay. Sounds fair. Sounds fair. All right. But you say these are difficult questions, but I think you're batting really well. You're just dealing this down the line and all. So we're going for our
Thank you.
final break, and Sonia will be returning with us right after. So remember, if you have those comments and you haven't sent them yet, do that so we can share what you share. Come back with us after this break.
Keep your career options open for local and overseas job opportunities in the booming hospitality and tourism industry with City and Guilds and ABE endorsed certification at Distinction College. Start online and face-to-face classes very soon in a career of high demand for workers globally and get certified in housekeeping, food preparation, waitering, travel, tourism, and hospitality, bartending and mixology, customer service, call center, cake baking and decorating, airline ticketing. No subjects required, no age limit. Register this week and get an additional course for free. Call Distinction College at 876-356-4167 or 354-8560. Visit us in Kingston, Spanish Town, Ocho Rios online or St. Elizabeth.
Hiya! Don't let the hurricane season catch you without your supply of Lanco roof coatings. Get the Lanco Duraflex, Urethanizer, Siliconizer, or Siliconizer Plus to seal and waterproof the roof. No leaking or moisture problems. Lanco roof coatings reflect the sun rays and reduce the heat inside your house. Use Lanco coatings on your sink, slab, asphalt, wood, and shingle roof. Available at your local hardware store. Lanco, your waterproofing experts.
Every Thursday morning, Love 101 shares with you power-packed messages, words of encouragement, and testimonies of God's miraculous power. You get all of that in the Don't Give Up broadcast, brought to you by Celebration Church at the Portmore Skating Rink in the Portmore Mall with Pastor Prophet Michael Carter. Be sure to stay tuned to Love 101 for the Don't Give Up broadcast. Get the word you need to start your day right. The Don't Give Up broadcast, Thursdays at 5:15 a.m. It's on the family station, Love 101.
Good evening and welcome back. So we're into the last segment, the last quarter of an hour or so, and our guest still is Sonia Winter, Associate Clinical Psychologist or Counseling Psychologist. Why am I getting these things wrong? Sonia, are you there or you're not coming back unless I get your right title?
Okay, I think you got it right though, certainly. Associate counseling, associate clinic, not even I'm getting it right. Associate clinical psychologist.
All right, there we go. All right, so we would have mentioned it near the top of the program, and we're saying, you mentioned that many couples come together at this stage of life in the senior years, and they really want more companionship, but they want a little more than what friendship could give. So I want to get into the whole matter of what does intimacy look like? How intimate can one really be over 60? But before you respond to that, let me just get a comment which was left here. It says, what if my parent decides to be with a younger person? Maybe someone close to my age. How should I react? I'll let you tackle that one first, and then I'll remind you of where we were going just before.
Yeah. Again, I think, but first of all, I can understand that there will be apprehensions about a younger partner, However, it may be prudent to get to know the person first before you sort of write them off or judge simply because of their age, But I would say better to get to know the person first before you pass any comments or state your position or anything like that. And best of all, if you can even wait to state your position until you're asked, that would even be better, you know what I mean? Unless you're really concerned about something, and then once you've got to meet the person, I would say the same rules apply. State your concerns, but be there to support if your fears do come to pass.
Okay. All right. That's the advice there from Sonia Winter. So we're looking at intimacy. What does intimacy look like in the over 60s? Is it 70s
By
and 80s?
intimacy, you mean physical intimacy, Sir Twain, or emotional intimacy, or
Well,
both?
both. Let's look at both. But I'd like first to give specific attention to physical intimacy, because I'm guessing some people are like, what could you really do at your advanced age?
Yeah. To tell you the truth, by and large, that I did find some information on that. By and large, couples are capable of sexual intimacy right up until they're 85 years old, at least.
85.
85, meaning the machinery can work quite well, so that you can have a satisfying sex relationship. However, it will be challenged too, as women age, their sex is not as pleasurable without a lot of help, put it that way, so you have to do a number of other things, maybe in the preparation for sexual intimacy, in order to ensure that you enjoy it. Menopause affects you physically and emotionally. The emotional component of menopause, which typically is in progress at 60, or has already happened by the time you reach 60. But menopause is a very real thing for women in their 60s, and it has a huge emotional effect on them, but also a physical effect on their bodies. I don't know if it's okay to say, but one of the main things is vaginal dryness, for example. So that's going to um, affect physical intimacy for women, and as well as maybe we have to have a whole other um, session together, a whole other program about the emotional changes that women go through, which will affect their sex life. Then, of course, for men, the probability of erectile dysfunction is much, much higher as well. Um, and again, they may need support in order to have a fulfilling sex life. So those are the kind of potential obstacles that can interfere with physical intimacy once a couple gets older. And as I said, the emotional world is a whole other um, ball game completely.
And I imagine that this should really be a discussion that one has ahead of time, especially just to make sure that both partners are on the same page as to what they expect, whether it's going to be like, I think I'm up it often. And she said, well, that's not necessarily so important. I really just like friendship, but you stay over.
Yes.
And that's the
And
kind of
cuddling.
ah right. So these are very important discussions to have. So when it becomes, so you've mentioned the difficulties or challenges that there may be physically, and you touched on the emotional as well. I know that that's going to be a lot to unpack, but in the few minutes that we have, how does one prepare for that sort of emotional intimacy? Because I imagine that there will be a lot more that one has done in his or her life, and persons may not really want to rehash too many things and bring out certain things. So how does one negotiate finding out more about you without stepping on topics that people are like, that's a past life and we don't need to go there?
Um, Emotional intimacy is a really huge part of friendship. Okay. If I don't know you well, you're a stranger to me. We're not friends. Okay. So knowing you well is a very important component of friendship and of successful companionship. Not all companions have that, but of fulfilling companionship, it's important to know your partner well. Okay. And that can only be done through conversations of sharing. And if you think about it, when you meet somebody, the first thing you want to do is what? Get to know them, right? That's kind of the first thing you want to know. That's almost like the first challenge. You want to get to know each other, and that's a very important part of connecting, and it paves the way for what is to come in the future. That kind of knowledge. Now, there will be parts of your history that you're not comfortable talking about. I think it's important to be honest about that, to say, this is very difficult for me to share this information. It brings up a lot of past pain and so on. So I think it's important to share, to be as authentic as possible, to about these past histories, but understand that at the same time, the other person can understand you much better if they know your past pain. They can know your pain points, as it were. That's true intimacy. And the truth is, if once two people really get more and more comfortable with each other and they feel safe, they know they won't be judged, they know they won't be protected, which is what active non-judgmental listening can create. Safety in a relationship where I feel safe enough to talk about my past pains. um, and that will certainly enhance the sense of connection that the couple will enjoy.
Okay. And we definitely can't go without having this meshing of lives.
You can, but it won't be as fulfilling. It will feel more disconnected, because human beings really thrive on connection.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let me try to summarize. So older couples or older seekers tend to want friendship and companionship, but a little deeper than that, which is why marriage is important, and they kind of stick with the people who they play dominoes with, etc. They may definitely have challenges that they should think about before making the dive. They know that their family members may have a say and some may have strong opinions, but both family members and the couple should seek to navigate that as best as possible without being overbearing.
For sure.
And they should note that because of their stage in life, some questions may be stronger than at first, perhaps in the emotional sense, perhaps financially, and of course medically.
For sure. For sure.
I was listening really well. That's
You
all.
were, you were, you were. Congrats, Sir Twin. Thank you for that summary.
I think, yeah, we definitely enjoy that one. But before you go, I definitely want, if there's any advice that I wasn't able to pull out, what could you say to those looking for love at this senior stage in their lives?
Yeah. Wow. I would say, if you're looking for love, don't give up. Love is a wonderful thing. Being able to share your life with somebody is a wonderful thing, but it's fraught with challenges. And if you can navigate those challenges, keep going, keep moving through those challenges, the payoff can be a really meaningful experience with somebody that's important to you.
Wow. On and on that note, we say thank you so much, Sonia Winter, for having been here with us and responded to these questions and just volunteered some information which I'm sure would have helped others as well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Sir Twain. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. So we say thank you to Sonia, but we want to turn to all those viewers and listeners as well and say a hearty thank you. Before we go, let me remind you, if you have questions of a personal nature or if you're concerned about a friend or family member, call us. For more information on our services, meaning on family life ministry services, or for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, contact our head office at 876 920 1034. You may also reach us at 876 926 8101. Please note that for appointments and information on costs, you must call the offices. Otherwise, to keep up to date with what's happening with FLM and our programs, check us out on our new Facebook page. Is it still new? I think probably FLM Family Life Ministries. You may subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA, and on Instagram it is FLMJA. As is customary, before we leave you, here is this evening's Bible verse. It comes to us from Job chapter 12 and verse 12. So with old age is wisdom, and with length of days understanding. With old age is wisdom, and with length of days understanding. Join us again next week for another informative, exciting program. Thanks again to our special guest, Sonia Winter, and thanks to our show producer, Kathy Gale, studio facilitator, Timoy Butler, and of course, to you, the viewers and listeners who gave us company. We'll do it all again next week. See you. I'm Sir Twain.